Hey guys, I'm back again and I have a video for you talking about the Festival America that I attended this past weekend on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm going to insert a clip here of a little bit of footage that I got. Not great footage because I had a lot in my hands and I wasn't capable of really filming properly. I was alone, so it made it more difficult. So have a look. Okay, I'm going to explain a little bit more what the Festival America is. Festival America takes place every 2 years in Vincennes, France, which is southeast of Paris. It's approximately 6.7, I think, kilometers, almost 7 kilometers from the center of Paris. And it gets together a plethora of authors and directors and musicians that come from North America. So that includes the Antilles, Canada, the US, and Mexico. So this has been going on, I think, since 2001. And I've never ever been able to go because something always has gone wrong. So this time I really made the effort to try to make it happen, and I made it happen for 2 days. And 2 days at the festival, you get a bracelet like this, which says Festival America on it. And it's one of these bracelets that once you put it on, you can't take it off. So it costs 15 euros to attend the conferences for Saturday and Sunday for 2 days. It actually goes on for 3 days. So it starts on Friday, ends on Sunday, and then I think Thursday afternoon and evening is for professionals like booksellers, some bloggers, people that are in the business, publishers, etc., etc. Now, the way it works is you have a very big agenda. So this was given to me for free on the site. And basically what happens is you have to plan where you want to go and what you want to see. And I'll show you what things look like. So Saturday's agenda was this. This was all Saturday's agenda. And this was Sunday's agenda. Friday's agenda was really short because it was, like I said, it's in the afternoon and the beginning of the evening. So not only do you have that, but you also have the schedule for autographs with the writers. So what you have to do is you have to sit down and you have to really plan what you can do by where it's located, because everything is located in Vincennes, in a small area in Vincennes. But you still have to plan, like if you want to see one conference, you have to plan, and you want to have an autograph from an author, then you have to plan how you're going to do that. So it's very difficult to decide what you can see. There are a lot of conferences. Like, for example, there weren't very many black writers there. Not really sure why this year, but apparently Jake Lamar was there, and I never ever saw Jake Lamar. I didn't even run into him walking around, because that was another thing that's really cool, is that these authors are moving around from one conference to the next, and then with the publishers, so that they can sign their books and everything. So when you're walking around, you pass next to Marlon James, you pass next to Cynthia Bond, you pass next to all these authors. I never saw Jake Lamar. I can't even believe I never saw him. But anyway, so I'll tell you some of the things that I did see. So I started off, I saw there was a big conference going on. It was on New York. So I saw a film called An Air de New York, which is like an in-depth look of New York through the eyes of different authors and people that are living in New York that are creators. So this is, you know, they looked at people that were there living in the 70s all the way up until like now. And it was really interesting to hear what some of the people had to say about the change of New York and if it was good for the city or not. And then after that, there was a talk about New York. And in it was Christopher Bolin, Arthur S. Kalberg, and Colin McCann conference. And it was very interesting because, of course, you know, I think Colin McCann is actually Irish, but he lives in New York permanently. So yeah, it was interesting seeing that. And so after that, I then saw another one which was called Indian Country, Être Indien dans l'Amérique d'aujourd'hui. So it's Indian country, what it is to be an Indian in America today. Now this was fantastic. You'll never guess who was there, and I didn't know he was going to be there because it wasn't written on the list of authors that he would be there. Joseph Boyden. Joseph Boyden was there. Geez, guys, I didn't know Joseph Boyden was hot. But anyway, whatever. But there was Joseph Boyden, there was Gyasi Ross, who is a Blackfoot Indian. There was and David Truer. And it was interesting to hear them talking about what it is to be Indian in America today. It was poignant because there's always this underlining difficulty of, you know, race and, you know, the brown people and how we're having so much trouble, you know, being respected as full-bodied human beings. And it's just, it was a very, very good talk. So I saw that. And then I went after and I saw this one. It was called Musique d'Amérique, so Music in America. And it had James McBride, it had Grail Marcus, it had a couple of other people. And they were all talking about music in America and how it's transformed and how people view music today and how is it created. Because James McBride, I don't know if you guys know, James McBride actually is a musician. He plays saxophone, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he plays saxophone, but he's also a writer. So, and he lives in Brooklyn. And he actually talked about, you know, how music has developed, and he talked about classical music and all of this. And he talked about how the music today is very flat compared to the richness of some of the music in the 60s and 70s and 80s. So it was really interesting to hear them, you know, talking about that. So then later on, after that, I went and I got some autographs. So that day I got autographed We're All Completely Beside Ourselves by Karen Joy Fowler. So I saw Karen Joy Fowler. We had a nice little chat because I was the only one there. So she gave me this lovely autograph. and we talked a bit about her book, and then I mentioned something about, I said, oh, bravo for the man Booker, and I said, oh, it's too bad you didn't, I wanted you to go all the way to the end. And then she said, oh no, she said, the American that wins that man Booker, boy, is that going to be a rat race. So I think she said it's a very stressful moment. So when you become a Man Booker winner, you have to go to all these events and all these. And I mean, of course, it's pretty obvious because Marlon James is really working a lot now. Like he's I think he must be staying in Paris for a certain period of time, because he was in Paris in July at Shakespeare and Co. Now he's back here. He was back here for the Festival America, so I'm sure he'll be back again for something else if he isn't already just staying here for a little while. So then after that, I went and I got all 4 of my books from James McBride signed, and here's one of them. It's the one that's Kill 'Em and Leave, which is about James Brown. So here it is right here, the signature he did from his signature is very small and quite delicate. He was interesting. He's kind of shy, like he didn't talk a lot, but he was smiley and nice and friendly, and but there were some people lining up to actually get their book signed by him, so that was refreshing as well. So then I went home in the evening, so I had to take the RER back, because if you go to this event, it is direct on the RER from Charles de Gaulle Étoile to Vincennes is about 30 minutes on the RER, so it's very easy to get there. So the next day I went a little bit earlier, and the first event I saw was it was called Trois Femmes Puissantes, and it was, which is translation is 3 Strong Women, and it basically was a conference that had Cynthia Bond, Abha Dawasar, and Anna North. And I hadn't heard of Abha Dawasar, nor had I heard of Anna North. So it was very interesting to hear about these 3 completely different novels. I have already read Ruby, so I knew it, but the other 2 I didn't know them, and I found it very interesting. So I learned something about these 2 new young authors, and Abha Dawasar speaks beautiful French. She's Indian origin, and Anna North understands French, but she can't really speak it, she said. So we had a juxtaposition between these 3 novels, which the showcase of the novels are women and showing their weakness and their strengths, and it was packed. There was not a seat empty for that conference. So Ruby is on the rise here in France now. Cynthia Bond people were trying to get her autograph and asking her about her book and etc., etc. So after that, it was noon, and so then I went down and I got an autograph from Garth Risk-Hallberg. And that was pretty cool because he was very talkative. His signature's here. And we spoke about New Orleans because he was born in New Orleans. His mother is from there. And so we had a little chat about, where did you go to school and that kind of thing. And we talked a little bit about his book. But he was in company. There were 2 other authors there. And, but I didn't know their books or didn't know who they were. So I wanted to see another conference before I got an autograph, and there was one. It was called De la Violence en Amérique, which is translated to Violence in America. And it was actually in 2 parts. So the first part was supposed to be Marlon James and Don Winslow, except Don Winslow couldn't do it, so it was just Marlon James alone. But that was fantastic because he is just an interesting guy. And then after it was James Elroy. Now, I didn't stay for James Elroy, unfortunately, but because I had to run back to the main salon and get some autographs. So there I got Meg Wolitzer to sign my book of The Interestings, and the autograph is really sweet. There it is right there. She even drew a little picture that says me at 15. That's her at 15, which I think is really cute. And then I went and got 2 more autographs, and that's what's in this little bag that I got. So this was from Shakespeare & Co. And I picked up Voutron, which is, the name of the book is called Dragonfish. And I picked this one up because it just sounded really interesting, and it had on it, I think it was a Shakespeare & Co. staff pick. So I went and I met him. He was there. He was very nice. Look at the Shakespeare & Co. bookmark. He was extremely nice, and we had a quick chat about his book. You know, I told him, you know, I just picked it up, and yeah, so he signed it really nicely, and we had a quick chat, and I can't wait to get into this book because it has kind of an interesting premise. It says, I'll read you a little bit of the back. It says, Robert, an Oakland cop, still can't let go of Susie, the enigmatic Vietnamese wife who left him 2 years ago. Now she's disappeared from her new husband, Sonny, a violent Vietnamese smuggler and a gambler who is blackmailing Robert into finding her for him. As he pursues her through the sleek and seamy gambling dens of Las Vegas, shadowed by Sonny's sadistic son, Junior, and assisted by unexpected and reluctant allies, Robert learns more about his ex-wife than he ever did during their marriage. So you get the idea. It's kind of like one of these thriller police kind of things, but it seems like it has something more to it than that. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I picked up this one. Got another Shakespeare & Co. bookmark. I picked up this one, which is The Life and Death of Sophie Stark. Okay, so this is what Shakespeare & Co. had on their books, and this was another staff pick. So when I left the conference, I went directly downstairs and picked up this book, and I find that this sounds like one interesting little novel. It says, this is the story of an enigmatic film director, told by the 6 people who loved her most. Brilliant, infuriating, all-seeing, and unknowable, Sophie Stark makes films said to be more like life than life itself. But her genius comes at a terrible cost, to her husband, to the brother she left behind, and to an actress who knows too much. So, yeah, this sounds really interesting. And Anna North, this is her second novel. And this is her first novel translated into French. So yeah, and I got her to sign my book as well, and we had a nice chat, and I told her, you know, that I discovered her in that conference and immediately wanted to buy her book. And so there you have it. So those are all the, you know, things I got signed. And in the end, I also got this one, which is a little book. It was €2, very cheap. And it's called Mon Amérique, 52 écrivains des États-Unis. So it's My America, 52 writers from the United States. And it says, nous parlent de leur pays et de leur culture. So speak to us about their culture and their country. And basically it has a lot of the authors that were there at the conference. And they were all asked the same question. And you have the answers of each one in this little book. So it's quite cute. Yeah, so I thought that was really good. And I got these bookmarks. I got a whole bunch of bookmarks here. These are the Festival America bookmarks. And I got a whole bunch for the book club. So I always give my book club bookmarks at the beginning of the new school year when we start up again. So I picked these up for free. They were given away like peanuts because they obviously had ordered way too many of those. So that's pretty much how it went for me at the Festival America. I would suggest if you live in France, it doesn't matter where you are, or if you're there on a holiday, you know, take a day and go to the Festival America. It's fantastic. You can actually get really close to the writers. They were all very nice. And it's really worth it. Now, the last conference I saw, which I must talk about, is it was first to film, and then the second part was called Black Lives Matter. And what they did was they showed the film Fruitvale Station. OMG, that movie broke me up. I mean, I had tears rolling down my face at the end of this film. So good. And I couldn't, it's like the same story we see over and over on the TV. And there I was watching it in the movie theater, and it was as if though it was real. And then after they had the Black Lives Matter talk, and on the panel was Cynthia Bond, Marlon James, Alan Mabonku, James McBride, and another woman whose name is Nicole Baccaran, who is a Franco-American lady. And they all talked about this whole thing about Black Lives Matter, but they also talked about what it is to be Black in America, and each one has a different perspective on the violence in America. And it's all this, they have similar bond with this feeling, but they all expressed it in different ways, and I found that what was the most interesting. So Cynthia Bond was more into the the destruction of the Black body, and also destruction of Black female body. James McBride was more in the sense of, we need to find solutions. We need to stop violence, stop yelling, start finding real solutions. And he, told a story about how the musicians that he works with refuse to come to Brooklyn, in his part of Brooklyn, because whenever they go there, they're systematically stopped by the police. So they refuse to go to practice in his neighborhood. So there's a lot of little things like that. And then we had, so he talked about the fact that how easy it is to live under racism for a long time. Is very difficult to sometimes identify what is actually happening as, hey, that's racist. He gave an example of going to dinner party with a friend who was Black Jamaican, and it was predominantly white, and at some point somebody started saying that they were good Black men, and Marlon James kind of tilted a little bit, and then at the end of the dinner, when he was just with his friend, he said, "Did you not catch it when the dinner started to become racist?" And his friend's like, "When was that?" He never really picked up on it. So it was a very interesting topic, and it went on like an hour over what it really should have been, because the discussion was so passionate and so spot on. So that's how I ended my Festival America on the Black Lives Matter conference, and that's all I have for you today to talk about. I hope you got some ideas from this video. If you want more information on the Festival America, what I can do is I will put here on the screen the website address for it, and you can have a look at the conferences that existed, because I think this program is still on the site today, and you can see how it's set up in Vincennes, and it's really good. Now, there was one thing that was really weird. It's not weird, it's kind of normal. There was security at all the doors, for all the days. There was, people asking to open the bag and all that. So, you do that. But when I went back on Sunday, which was the 11th of September, Lord, they had brought out the big guns, because there were like 3 and 4 security guards per entrance. And not only did they check your bag, but they got the wand out, and they wand in your body and everything, and so they were not having it. They were not playing around. And they even had it barricaded so that no cars could run into the event or anything like that. They really did do a good job with the security, so everybody felt secure, and everybody just opened their bag and respectfully did what they were told to do, and there were no problems. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed hearing about my weekend at the Festival America, but I felt obligated to talk about it because it is a pretty big event, and it won't be happening again until 2018. So that's all I have for you today. Bye.